Alright, in this video I'm going to go over some of the new updates. Now this is a pretty big update, so I'm just going to cover some of the highlights. First off, the game is going to be now more about managing towns. Rebuilding towns, managing the units, assigning the villagers to work either as workers or as military units, managing upgrades, things like that. Much more involved than the previous missions because it didn't really leave me anywhere to go. A small mission that takes a few minutes where you kill a few people doesn't really leave me anywhere to balance the mission, and it ends up being too simple or too hard or just not involved enough to be interesting. So this new update is all about making the game play to its strengths and get rid of things that weren't really working and emphasize the things that were working. And so far, I'm pretty happy with it. So let's go over some of the new stuff here really quick. First off, like I said, you'll start with villagers, and this will be your only starting unit. You may start with 10 or 15, I'm not really sure yet, but that'll be determined with testing. And of course, you may be able to unlock more as well. And each villager basically can be trained to any unit. And this will cost gold, of course. Gold will be the main currency in the game that you'll have to manage, use both for units themselves and for upgrades. So if you create a bunch of expensive units and then upgrade a lot of military upgrades, things like that, then you have to kind of balance, where you're spending money and things like that. So maybe you want more merchants, maybe you want more workers, maybe you want less military, but you want to try to make it more effective, try to repair the defenses in the town first. And that's another point that is about this new demo is now about figuring out what to repair first. So, like, you can repair walls so you have more choke points for your melee units, or you can repair towers for your archers, depending on how you want to play the game. So try to leave it open to give you a bunch of options. And of course you can repair buildings as well first if you wanted to. You can focus on the economy first, build up the cottages, give you more workers to work, villagers to work from, things like that. And I've simplified the resources a little bit. So now you have food, which will be used for both feeding units and for selling. All the merchants will sell the excess gold for excess food for gold at the end of each day, and you'll use that gold, of course, to buy units or upgrades. So you get to manage how many merchants you want versus how many units you want for military or whatever. So it's one more choice that makes it more interesting. And wood will be used for repairing buildings, which will have a variety of things to repair, like maybe a blacksmith or a barracks, archery range, a monastery, various things may be added, which will all have some kind of bonus attached to it. Not just an arbitrary building, but everything should have some kind of purpose. Like repairing this wall would seal this wall up, and enemies now have to walk around the front gate. Repairing this tower will allow you to place an archer on it. Everything has a bonus, and there'll be a variety of things to repair, and you'll be able to decide how you want to approach that. Like I said, gold is now the main currency. I've removed iron and removed healing herbs and all that kind of stuff in favor of just a very simple system that you can manage, because it really wasn't offering any, real advantage having multiple resources. So keeping it simple allows you to focus on just the important things and managing this, and it's a little bit more easy to follow, I guess. And then you have your villagers, which will be represented here, and your cohort, which is basically all the units that you've now trained. Like, all these are just for show. These will be what your trained units looks like when you go into a unit and you train him as a worker or so forth. They will now become part of the cohort and not part of the villagers anymore. And once a villager dies, he will die permanently, so you'll have to work on keeping everybody alive, figuring out where to put everybody. And even though it's less about conquest now than it used to be, you'll still have to clear out the map and make it safe. So maybe there'll be some enemies guarding some resources, things like that. So you have to decide when to take them out, because you don't want your villagers wandering out and getting killed. And also you might want access to a particular resource early on. So that'll be another interesting choice you can make as well. And I've now added some options for gathering food. So I've added docks in recently, so you'll be able to fish now, and that'll be one more way to gather food other than farms, and maybe there'll also be some docks that need to be repaired first, things like that. And also storage buildings will also play a bigger role now. You can drop off things at your caravan, of course, but to minimize walking, maybe you'll see a storage building near a resource and you want to focus on repairing it. And you know, that'll give you not only less food consumed from walking, but also faster resource gathering. And as you can see, the units now also have a different carrying mechanism, and you'll be able to upgrade that to the wheelbarrow later on, so you don't have to carry everything by hand, which is slower and you know, less efficient, more walking and less resources. Like right now, he's carrying sticks by hand, and if you remember the previous demo, he had a wheelbarrow, so that's one more upgrade I put into the game. Also, a new addition will be corpses. I want to try to emphasize the fact these are actual people, so on top of the fact that they have names and whatnot, they'll also stick around as a corpse, and maybe I'll have it so there's a gravekeeper that takes them to a cemetery, and you know, something like that. Add a little personal touch to it. I've also improved the UI a bit, so all the navigation's over here now. You can see icons of where your units are, what they're doing. Like this guy's collecting wood, so you can see on the map that he's now doing that down here. So you can see at a glance where all your units are and what they're doing. You can see where your lord is, where the caravan is, where the merchants are. And this will help you kind of manage the town and keep everybody safe, and just have a better idea of what's going on. I want to make it less about all kinds of portraits and more about keeping it simple. Also, I'm not sure how many units there actually be in the game, so this makes it easier for me to expand without having to keep redoing the UI. The right side will be mostly for unit management. You can see all their stats, their attack stance, things like that. You'll be able to see idle workers or injured units. You'll be able to bring up the upgrade tree, which I haven't finished yet, which will have all the military and economic upgrades. The menu will be expanded to have difficulty options and allow you to play however you want. There's more emphasis now on upgrading units as a whole. For example, spearmen could be halberdiers or pikemen or whatnot, and this is a permanent upgrade which applies to all units, both now and ones you create in the future, so you don't have to worry quite as much about upgrading a unit and then losing them in battle and losing all the resources. So that's mostly everything. There's quite a lot more that I can go over, but this video's already getting kind of long. I'm going to be putting out a demo here within, I don't know, a week, week and a half, 2 weeks at most. Not sure exactly how long it's going to take, but I still have a lot of stuff to do. I need to build some destroyed houses and a barracks and some other things, and do some more programming and then some game balancing. But overall, it should be no more than 2 weeks. Possibly 1 week, but a week and a half probably is going to be more accurate. And this demo will have a whole new map, all the new features, town that can be managed, lots of new destroyed ruins to rebuild, things like that. And I think it'll be pretty good. I've added a lot of new stuff, like for example, you can highlight the buildings need to be repaired, and you'll be able to cycle through them and see what all is what at a quick glance. I've made it so workers now have a better job of targeting the buildings for repairs rather than having to go to specific points, and you know, just general gameplay improvements and things like that. So this will be a pretty good, significant update on the game, I think, and I think you'll like it. So stay tuned here in a few days for an update on the demo, and I'll see you next time.